covered off one treasure story. Now we've got a lost mine to deal with in the silvery Slocan, but I guess north in the silvery Slocan.
Well, actually, just close to Slocan City in an old place called Lemon Creek, which has some mining history as well. And when you look at the Slocan slope, Mike, and I mentioned this once before, years ago, in the Slocan slope, those mines at the bottom were lead and zinc.
That's close to the 49?
That's right, close to the lake. And as you move up from Slocan Lake, they become more lead and a little bit of silver, and then they become more silver and not much lead. And finally, at the top, in that particular area, between Slocan City and Lemon Creek, you get a lot of gold properties. And the gold properties are absolutely eye-openers. Some of them were eye-openers.
Now, when you're talking about the top, are you talking in altitude, or are you talking in heading north up the lake?
I'm talking in altitude, as you go up the slope of the mountains.
Okay.
And a lot of people know the history of the Slocan country. You had Sandon, and here's a photograph of Sandon, which was the silver city of British Columbia, the first one, by the way.
Yeah.
And you had New Denver, which was a classic city, a distribution point.
Good silver name there, Denver.
Oh, sure. Yep. Named after Denver, Colorado. Then you came down to Silverton itself, and Silverton was, the Standard Mine and the Van Roy and a whole bunch of mines in there, a lot of silver properties. Then you come down the lake to the foot of the lake, and you come right down to Slocan City, which was a real boomer, because the railroad came into Slocan City. And here's Slocan City in its glory in the 1890s. And here's another shot, slightly later, looking down the main street of Slocan City. And now we're getting kind of what I think is an interesting shot. And this is a photograph of one of the C.P.R. trains, which travels the old Columbian Western, which is really a C.P.R. subsidiary.
The C&W.
Yeah. So this kind of sets the scene.
So this railway figures in our story in some way today?
It does indeed. It does indeed.
Okay.
Very prominent.
What's the plot with the C&W?
Okay, let me tell you. Let me tell you what happened. I went into, always make trips into Slocan City, and went in to meet a guy called Harold Pinchbeck, who held, and I showed them on the program years ago, a pair of solid brass knuckles that belonged to the dance hall girls. And he'd held those to me, and we spelled a conversation. He told me a very, very interesting story about a lost mine up Lemon Creek. So I decided to check it out, and I went down the valley, and I found old Don Herder, who's still alive and well in Slocan City, both he and his wife. And they're old friends of mine. And I said, Don, and it was a nice fall day, and I said, Don, do you know anything about a lost treasure up the Lemon Creek Valley? Well, he said, yeah, Bill, I told my brother Gene that I had never said anything about that, and I really rather not tell you. He said, I've kept that secret for over 50 years, which he had. Very, very tightly held secret in Slocan City. Well, I said, Don, look it. I know about the Scandinavian. I know approximately it's on one of the South Forks of Lemon Creek. I've got a lot of the details. I just want you to verify it. Well, Billy says, I guess you do know most about it. He said, I'll tell you the details. And this is the detail. In 1924, there was a section foreman called John Caccini. And John Caccini used to check the line between Appledale, which is a little village down the Slocan Valley, right up to Slocan City.
Used to ride a pump car, maybe like this pump car here. This is a man by the name of Clough on this one.
That's one of the Cloughs on a velocipede, and this is what they did. They checked to see that the rail was all right, and there wasn't something had fallen across or a rail was missing, and so on. And he's made this trip, 1924, it's the early fall, he's made the trip hundreds and hundreds of times, probably thousands of times. He'd worked for the C.P.R. for about 14 years. And so he's pumping along, idly looking at the scenery. He notices something up ahead in the track, and it looks like a man lying down right close to the track. He breaks the handcar to a stop, rushes over. The guy's barely conscious, but is conscious. Turns him over and feeds him a little bit. He has some lunch left over, so he feeds him, and the guy tells him a very, very fascinating story. And this is the story he says. He said, I've been 3 or 4 days crawling over the countryside. He had a badly broken leg. So Caccini fixed up a splint, and he had either bruised or broken ribs. And what had happened, he said, I have a little mine up on the South Fork of Lemon Creek. And he said, it's a very, very good mine. I discovered it this spring. He said, I haven't staked it yet because I had enough food, enough grub to last me. And I followed a very, very narrow vein in bluish quartz. And this area is very interesting because there is bluish quartz. When you look at all the mines on the other side of the Lemon Creek Valley, Mike, the Chapleau and the Golden Wedge and the Gold Reef and the Black Prince and the Crusader. These were gold properties, and the gold, the best gold, the premium gold, came out of quartz with a bluish hue or a bluish tint.
This is a beautiful little map. You hold that corner. This
Sure
is kind
will.
of an oilskin linen map, so it's waterproof.
Yeah.
Hold your end up a little bit more. This is that north side of Lemon Creek. Lemon Creek is along the bottom, but those are the claims that follow this sort of a section right through
That's
here.
the vein structure there, yeah.
Vein
That's
structure.
the gold vein coming through.
And there we have Chapleau, Skylark, Wedge, Superior, Kylo 1, Kylo, Kylo 2.
Yeah.
These are all the gold claims.
And they call it Kylo, not Kilo, you're right.
On the north side of Lemon Creek, and Lemon Creek is down at the bottom.
Yeah, that's on the opposite side of the valley. Okay, this is the opposite side of the valley that the scan, and so that's all he tells.
So Hansen says that he had gold in blue quartz on the south side of Lemon Creek.
Yeah, and he thought he wasn't going to last, and he didn't look like he was going to last. So Caccini takes him to the hospital in Nelson, visits him 2 days later. He realizes that this individual is not going to last. So he goes over the story, gives them all the details. He says, my name is Hansen. He said, I don't think I'm going to survive. He said, I'm quite convinced I'm going to die. And, of course, Caccini, being a very nice man and very, very concerned about everything, and that the kind of man he was. But he said, I want you to go out there. He said, go up, examine the left fork. I have a tunnel in there, and I have a camp. I don't think he had a log cabin. He had a makeshift camp. So he said, I want you to stake it. But he said, don't give up. He said, make sure you stake it, and don't tell a soul. He said, it's too good. Inside the shaft, he said, I have a baking powder tin full of gold, he said, which I actually took out of the ore by using a mortar and pestle.
So
now, I haven't got the pestle, but...
Would he have hauled something like this? Look at the size. This is made of iron.
Yeah.
And inside it, no blue quartz, I guess, but there's looks like quartz in there. Looks like gold in there, Bill.
Yeah, and you would have a hammer. You would have a hammer, and of course, quartz breaks away from the gold quite easily. So he would use the mortar and pestle to get it down to very, and he could do that quite easily.
Yeah.
So he filled a baking powder tin virtually full of gold, which would be probably 20 or 30 pounds. He also had at least a stockpile and one full wheelbarrow full of extremely high-grade gold when he got caught in the cave-in. And he was caught in a cave-in in his own mine. He was a little careless. I guess he didn't timber well. And some of that country is bad rock country. So it came down, broke his leg, damaged his ribs, and with the result that he had to crawl across country going into Nelson. He does pass away about 2 days later. Caccini, however, is a railroad man. But he goes looking for it, Mike. He doesn't find it. After a little over a year, he tells one person in Slocan City. And that person, I'm quite sure, was Ernest Van Deliken. And I knew old Ernest. He told me other treasure stories, and they were good ones. He told us about the Golden Wedge. He never mentioned this. Ernest tells two other people. He tells Harold Pinchbeck.
Somebody who told you
that's
about
right,
it
who told me about it earlier.
Yeah.
And I confirmed it with Don Hurd. Hurd tells the Avises and his brother. And the Cloughs probably know about it as well. So those are the only people in that country who know anything about it.
You figure they'll all keep, they won't tell two close friends, and they won't tell two, and the whole of that country will know all about it.
That's right. They were so convinced it was there. They trusted Caccini. They knew he wasn't a liar. He didn't come up with lost mine stories. They knew that part of the country carried very, very good gold in pockets. So this was a pocket he found.
Yeah.
They also knew the country had been covered by a forest fire, Mike. And so as forest fires had swept through that country several times, so the location of the old camp would be gone. The tunnel may still be there, but remember, there are holes and tunnels and shafts all through that country.
Yep.
But it's somewhere on the left, on the main fork of Lemon Creek on the south side. Now, the main fork is Monument Creek.
Yeah.
Most people look near Monument Creek, but it may or may not have been Monument.
Now, I always like your maps, because in your books, you've done some map making. Now, here we have Lemon Creek. That's the center here, okay?
Yeah.
Now, we just showed you the old map that showed these claims on the north side.
Yeah.
Now, old Hansen. Hansen was his name?
Hansen, sometimes given as Olafson. One source gives it as Olafson. I don't believe it.
He said he crawled cross-country this way down to where he was found on the railroad
That's
tracks.
right. Yeah.
He said he crawled actually through how many creeks?
He said 4 creeks, but it might have been a tributary as well, so we don't know if it was 4 or 3 or 2, really.
So if you count the creeks back from where he was found, 1, 2, 3, 4, you figure he's somewhere here around Monument Creek.
It could be, and those bends and those veins start to bend up there when they're and it's quite often a vein will turn around almost completely. So it's quite possible that is gold country. It's pockety gold and it's high-grade gold.
Look at this picture. This is a picture of Lemon Creek, and it looks pretty serene here,
Yeah, it does.
but it's much steeper than this. You're talking really precipitous country.
Yeah, you're talking, when you get back into Lemon Creek, you're talking extremely tough country to prospect in, and I know people have gone looking for it. They have not been successful.
The stories just continue. The Lost Mine up Lemon Creek, and next time you're in an old cabin that's been deserted, look down at the floorboards and maybe there'll be 1,000 gold sovereigns. See you next time on Gold Trails.